Tashatalek, everyone, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, those who are living across the countries. And welcome back to the third session on the 4-day teaching on the Noble Mahayana Sutra, the Rice Sutra Sutra, and in Sanskrit, Śhālistamba Sūtra, and in Tibetan, Salujangde Do. And before we request Geshe to proceed the session, I'd like to request everybody, those who are listening from Geshe's audio, like direct English, you can press the interpretation mode in English, and those who are a French listener, so that you can put the interpretation on French, and also you can able to hear the questions afterwards during the Q&A session. Okay, thank you. And so before we start the actual session, I would like to request Ms. Manjari Mehtaji to kindly start the preliminary prayer.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes,
can you hear me?
Can.
Yes.
We can.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We'll begin our practice by setting a proper motivation, which consists of 3 parts, while being both mindful of both aspects, the object being visualized and the manner in which we are visualizing it, the refuge field, envisioning in the space in front of us, Buddha Shakyamuni, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, and all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and any other enlightened beings we regard with veneration. They are looking upon us with immense kindness and the unconditional love that a mother looks upon her only child. The bodhicitta field, visualizing seated on either side of us, our kind parents, mother on the left, father on the right. Additionally, we're accompanied by all other dear mother sentient beings, leaving none aside, and we're leading them in this practice. The purpose of the practice is to manifest the Buddha nature that resides within us all, which is the ultimate source of happiness, by removing the 2 mental obscurations, afflictive obscurations, that consist of the afflictions of negative emotions, contaminated karmas, and their corresponding active seeds, and cognitive obscurations, the subtle stains, that is, the inactive latencies of afflictions and contaminated karmas. We'll recite the following verses while mentally invoking their profound meanings and associated experiences. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Enthused by great compassion, you taught the Immaculate Dharma to dispel all perverted views. To you, the Buddha Gautama, I pay homage. Taking refuge in generating bodhicitta, Sangye chodam sogi chomnam la, jangju bardo dagi kyapsuchi, dagi jinso kipe sonam ki, drola penchir sangye drupar shok. Sangye chodam sogi chomnam la, jangju bardo dagi kyapsuchi, dagi jinso kipe sonam ki, drola penchir sangye drupar shok. Sangye chodam sogi chomnam la, jangju bardo dagi kyapsuchi, dagi jinso kipe somnam ki, drola penchir sangye drupar shok. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Independent origination, there's no ceasing, no arising, no annihilation, no permanence, no coming, no going, no separateness, and no sameness. I prostrate to the consummate Buddha, the supreme among all teachers, the one who taught this peace, which is freed of elaborations. I prostrate to the mothers of the hearers, the bodhisattvas and the Buddhas, which through the knowledge of all lead hearers seeking pacification to complete peace, which through the knowledge of paths causes those helping migrators to achieve the aims of the world, and through the possession of which helps subduers expound a variety of teachings. The one who is transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata and protector, to you I make prostrations. The one who has eliminated the web of conceptualizations and is endowed with the divine bodies of the vast and the profound, who eternally shines forth the forever noble light rays, to you the Buddha I make prostrations. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. We'll recite the essence of the dependent origination mantra with Geshe-la's recording.
Tesham tathagato yamata Tesham chayo nirodha Evam bhati mahashramanaye swaha Om ye dharma hetu prabhava Hetum tesham tathagato yavatat Tesham chayo nirodha Evam bhati mahashramanaye swaha Om ye dharma hetu prabhava Hetum tesham tathagato yavatat Tesham chayo nirodha Evam bhati mahashramanaye swaha
Manjari, please unmute yourself. We have sent you the request to unmute. Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Hello? Yes. All phenomena arise from causes. The causes are taught by the Tathagata. The cessation of the causes as well is taught by the Great Seer. Profound, peaceful, elaboration-free, clear light and non-composite, such is the nectar-like dharma I have discovered. Finding no one to fathom this teaching, in silence I will retire into the woods. Beyond utterance, thought, and expression is the perfection of wisdom, which is unborn, unceased, and has the nature of space. It is the object of apprehension of self-realized wisdom. To you, the mother of the Buddhas 3 times at Paya Basins. The 4 seals of the Buddha's teachings. All composite things are impermanent. All contaminated things of the nature of suffering. All phenomena are of the nature of emptiness and selflessness. Transcending sorrow is peace. The Guru is the Buddha, the Guru is the Dharma, likewise the Guru is the Sangha. The Guru is the source of everything wholesome. I go for refuge in the Guru. By the sound of the vibrant drum of Dharma, you liberate all beings of miseries. I beseech you to kindly remain and give teachings until the end of the expanse of billions of eons. The Buddha does not watch the negativities of beings, nor does he remove their miseries by his hands. His spiritual realizations are not transferred to them. It is by teaching the truth of suchness that beings are liberated. With folded hands, I beseech the Buddhas of all directions to shine the light of Dharma for all bewildered in misery's gloom. Instructions on parting from the four attachments. If you're attached to this life, you're not a spiritual practitioner. If you're attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you're attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. If there's grasping, you do not have the view.
Swaha Tyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasam Gati Bodhi Swaha Tyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasangati Bodhi Swaha Tyatha 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 Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasangati Bodhi Swaha.
Thank you, Manjari Jiji. Now I'd like to request Geshe to proceed the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Manjari ji. And thank you, Tinsumla. Thank you, Tinsravenla. And welcome you all to this teaching. And today corresponds to Chogur Tujin, the Buddha's turning the first wheel of the Dharma on the planet Earth. And the Buddha himself very clearly indicated that on these special occasions, when the very powerful virtues have been related to enlightened beings, if we also, remembering these virtues, the days, if we engage in any virtue, including taking aspiration bodhisattva vows, this will be extremely, the merit will be multiplied innumerable times. So with this in mind, we will take this as opportunity to take the aspiration bodhisattva vow together. And to take this vow, it is not necessary that somebody should be a Buddhist, or there are a lot of commitments attached to this. No commitment at all attached, as long as you feel say, a sense of compassion, the sense of value of the compassion, that from today onwards, I will try my best to render help and service to others. If not, at least I will not harm others. This much, if you can commit. And that too, it's not that from today onwards that I will not harm others at all. This is not the point. I'll try my best, meaning that intentionally I will not engage in harming others. And to the best of my ability, I'll try to create or render happiness, render service and benefit to other beings. So if this much you can commit yourself, you're entitled to take the aspiration bodhisattva vow. So with this in mind, I request Tenzrumla for the screen sharing of the 3 verses for taking the aspiration bodhisattva vow. And meanwhile, said the say, reading the verses is one thing, and more important than reading verses is to actually generate, cultivate the thought, the desire to become Buddha for the benefit of demons and sentient beings. So with this in the mind, as indicated by Manjari ji in the beginning of this recitation of the prayers, let us invoke all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, particularly Buddha Shakyamuni, who on this day, on this planet Earth, he turned the first wheel of the Dharma, and invoke the Buddha Shakyamuni there, and also invoke His Holiness the Dalai Lama, currently who is in Ladakh and giving teachings nowadays, and also all enlightened beings. Invoke all the enlightened beings and who are the teachers that you are connected with, whatever tradition, from the Theravada tradition, from the Chinese tradition, from the Tibetan tradition, Sakya, Kagyu, Nyingma, it doesn't matter. Who's ever served as inspiration for you in terms of cultivating a universal compassion, in terms of penetrating the reality of emptiness, who's ever helped you in these areas, you invoke those beings in front of you as so loving, caring, and embracing. And for the Bodhis of the field, visualize your 2 kind parents. And even if you have difficulty, even you have or you had difficulty with your parents, it doesn't matter. So what we're trying to do here is to transcend the ordinary people's thinking. And what is meant by ordinary? So where conflicts can easily erupt, this is the mark of the ordinary beings. Whereas those people who can do something which ordinary people cannot do, this is the meaning of the being a noble beings, or the same evolved beings in the spiritual journey. So we are trying to do that, and it's not that easy to feel this love and affection towards anybody who you feel as a difficult person, including in some cases like parents and so forth. But the point is that if you broaden your thinking, your parents are exceptionally kind. There could be some exceptions where the parents themselves did not get the opportunity to experience genuine love and affection from others, and because of this is 1 out of 1,000 people. So otherwise, for all of us, try to think of your parents, all the family members, including your children, and all other dear mothers and beings with you. And here you are like the mother, and all others are like your children. And just generate a very strong feeling of love, affection, attention, and embrace towards each and every dear mother sentient beings. So with this in the mind, and the purpose of this practice is to awaken the Buddha nature within us, the seed of perfection within us. And no matter who you are, whether you're a male or female, whether you are Eastern or Westerner, educated, uneducated, young, old, or the so-called high caste, low caste, it doesn't matter. Everyone has the same potential for the perfection. So because of which, remember that the purpose of being here is to activate this potential within us, that you experience the total fearlessness and the total infinite happiness and eternity for yourself and for all other dimensional beings. And to do that, we have to remove the mental defilements, because the goals like the seed of perfection, both Buddha nature is within us already. Only things remove the mental defilements and the gold will glow on its own. We don't have to do anything to bring the gold from outside. It is already there within us. But the next is how can we remove the mental defilements? So for that, we need to know the nature of the mental defilements. And finally, the remedy lies in the wisdom of emptiness, which will eradicate the darkness of ignorance and the subtle stains left by this ignorance and the offshoots of this ignorance. In other words, all the mental defilements in the form of this ignorance, self-grasping ignorance, and its offshoots referred to as the afflictive obscurations, the presence which blocks us from attaining nirvana or fearlessness, and the subtle stains, the residues of these and the ignorance and all the gross afflictions in the form of what is referred to as the cognitive obscurations, the presence which blocks us from attaining infinite happiness. And to get rid of these mental defilements, we need to resort to the very powerful remedy of the wisdom of emptiness, which must be complemented by the motivation of the bodhicitta, the desire to become Buddha for the benefit of demon sentient beings. So this motivation, that marks that one of the distinguishing factors of the Buddha Shakyamuni is his having demonstrated this universal compassion of bodhicitta for all the demon sentient beings, with the aspiration to shine the light of the wisdom of emptiness for all the demon sentient beings. So these are the two demarcating the features of the Buddha Shakyamuni, and the whole purpose of the Buddha Shakyamuni to appear on this earth today, and that today, having corresponded to the day the Buddha Shakyamuni turned the first wheel of Dharma. Wheel of Dharma is all headed towards the wisdom of emptiness and the bodhicitta. So with this in mind, let us mentally invoke the spirit, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all my dear mother sentient beings. The way and the manner in which the Buddha Shakyamuni did it once under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, and then eventually he succeeded in the accomplishment. So let's invoke the spirit by taking a few seconds. Okay, with this generation of the bodhicitta, the desire to become Buddha for the benefit of all demon sentient beings, let us also to activate it even more, to reinvigorate this aspiration. Let us verbally say this 3 times together. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all my dear mother sentient beings. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all my dear mother sentient beings. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all my dear mother sentient beings. Okay. Slowly transform this beautiful mind of bodhicitta that we've generated now into a spotlessly clean moon disk, horizontally sitting with the heart. It's amazing that you made such a courageous commitment to become Buddha for the benefit of demon sentient beings. May I become Buddha. But how can you become Buddha? Yes, the seed of perfection, seed of Buddhahood is within myself. I need to remove the mental defilements. How to remove the mental defilements? Say, remove the mud and the gold inside will glow on its own. Likewise, remove the mental defilements and the Buddha nature will shine to experience the infinite happiness and the fearlessness. But how could you do it to remove the mental defilements? By resorting to a very powerful the remedy. What is that remedy? The wisdom of emptiness. Okay, let us meditate on emptiness. This is going to be guided meditation, and let us flow our thoughts according to the instructions given. So this is going to be a meditation on emptiness. This is in a way like what is known as the meditation on the dual bodhicittas, aspiration, the conventional bodhicitta and the ultimate bodhicitta. So with this in mind, we're going to follow the instructions and just follow the instructions. Ready? Okay. What are you doing? I'm meditating. What is your body doing? My body is in a meditative posture. Okay. And how does this person appear to you? Who you identified as I appear to you? Appears so objectively real, not like a dream. This is ignorance. This belief that I does exist, this self does exist as objectively real. This is the ignorance, self-grasping ignorance. And this is the root cause of all my problems, all the miseries in samsara. Okay. How do you know that this belief or this perception or this apprehension that I exist objectively real, not like a dream, is this self-grasping ignorance, that is not the valid mind? How do you know that? Remember what Aranagarjuna taught. If the mirage were to be water, why not those close by the mirage see water? In a similar token of reasoning, if I were to exist objectively, why do I see this I as I go closer to this object? Okay, now let us go closer to this object. Just as to see if what you're seeing is the mirage or the water, you go closer to this object from where the water appeared. Likewise, we go closer to the self to see if the self does exist from the object. So this mind which goes closer to the object is known as ultimate analysis. Technically speaking, and let us subject the self or the I to the ultimate analysis. Subject to self to the ultimate analysis, we will just ignore anything which is not a self, because we're interested to look for the self which is objectively real, not like a dream. Going closer, first we end up seeing the very thin layer of the skin. Of course, that is not me. Behind that, the fatty tissues. Behind that, the muscles, cartilages. And alongside, the whole skeleton. The heart, the lungs, the liver, pancreas, stomach, intestine. All the solid parts constitute the element of earth. Element of earth is not to be identified as one with the self. Element of water, 4 liters of blood, which is pumped in and out by the heart to different parts of the body. Of course, that is not to be identified as I. Element of fire, 2,600 joules of energy that your body has. Of course, that is not me. Element of air, 4.6 liters of air that you breathe in and out through your lungs. Of course, that is not me. Element of space, 99.99% of your body is made of space. But I'm not a space. I'm not a space vacuum in nature. I'm a solid person. I'm not a space. What is left now? Element of consciousness, your mind. Of course, the element of consciousness or the mind is not me. The element of consciousness does not have a gender. Gender is posited on the basis of the body. And people can see me. People cannot see my mind. So therefore, element of mind or element of consciousness also not me. Okay, now what do you see? With this ultimate analysis, what do you see? I just see 6 elements. Which of the 6 elements is to be identified as a self? None. if none of these 6 elements to be identified as self, see if the self can be identified as different from these 6 elements. Remove 6 elements, what is here? Nothing left as a self. Now you have come too close to the object. You are seeing what is objectively there. Objectively, where is this self? Nowhere to be seen. Stay in this experience for a while. In some cases, there can be a tinge of a fear. In some, a tinge of a triangular experience, tickling sensation, cold waves can flow through your body. If any of these indications happen, you are very fortunate. If not, don't worry. We go for more extensive studies, reflection, meditation. Eventually, we'll get these experiences. Okay, that's amazing. The self is nowhere to be seen as objective real. Okay, now just imagine that you come out of this meditation. Again, the self comes back. You go into the meditation. Again, the self disappears. There's a constant change happening. Self comes back, disappears, comes back, disappears. But on the object level, there's no change. The change, whatever change is happening, is on the subject level. It's subjective. So whatever is involved with this change is subjective. The self is a part of this change. It appears, disappears, appears, disappears. So this is purely what appears to the subjective mind, nothing really there from the object. From the object, I'm 100% sure that it is empty objectively. It does appear when I come out of the meditation, that is what it appears to the subject. So that is purely subjective. Okay, once again, go back to the ultimate analysis to see what you're saying. I'm just seeing 6 elements. Where's the self? Nowhere to be identified as one of the 6 elements, nor to be different from the 6 elements. From the object, in other words, these are the only 2 possibilities for the self to exist objectively. It does exist objectively. And given that none of these the 2 holds true, the self to be objective real is ruled out. Stay in this experience for a while. This self is just mentally imputed. Slowly transform this spotless, transform this fearless mind of the wisdom of emptiness into a spotlessly clean, thumb-size, wide vajra, vertically sitting on the moon-disk of the heart. Okay, that's amazing. This moon disk is symbolic of the conventional bodhicitta, the desire to become Buddha for the benefit of human sentient beings, which is what helps us to eradicate this self-centered attitude. And a vajra is symbolic of the ultimate bodhicitta, the bodhisattva, Arya bodhisattvas, as the non-dual wisdom of emptiness, which has the capacity to get into all the mental stains, ignorance, offshoots of the ignorance, subtle stains of the ignorance, all, thereby allowing your Buddha nature, the gold-like Buddha nature, to manifest in its full form, to experience total fearlessness and infinite happiness. That's amazing. But let us not forget that your 2 parents, your children, your family members, your husband and wife, all the demon sentient beings are with you. They are suffering terribly badly. And how many people are there in the hospitals going through the ICUs, and people going through all this domestic violence and so forth. Just think of all these people and how many animals have been dying in the ocean, in the wilderness, in the hotels. How many animals are dying just for the food of somebody else? Think of all these pains. Feel this compassion towards all the beings. Today on the Chokurtujan, the day the Buddha Shakyamuni, the most compassionate Buddha Shakyamuni turned the first bill of the Dharma to dispel the darkness of ignorance. On this day, let us generate this very strong compassion towards all the demon sentient beings. And this compassion invokes your Vajra moon to multiply infinite number of times. And share one side of the Vajra moon with your mom at her heart, one side with your father at his heart, one side with each one of your family members, including children, one side with each of the beings in your own country, each of the beings in the wilderness, all the trillions of creatures in the wilderness, animals, insects, bacteria, and so forth, in the oceans, the human beings, animals, insects, hungry ghosts, hell beings, God and goddess, spirits, everyone gets a share of the Vajra moon which you have so kindly shared. That's amazing. And also let us visualize that Buddha's Bodhisattvas, they're so happy today to see that you are taking the spiritual Bodhisattva vow. So with this, we're requesting all Buddhas Bodhisattvas to be the witness to our taking the spiritual Bodhisattva vow. Let us recite the 3 verses together. And as we recite the verses, let us make sure that we remember the meaning so well, the meaning so well reflected in the mind. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. I go for refuge to the triple gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddha in my heart. Gurus, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, please be here to me. Just as previous Buddhas have generated the mind of bodhicitta, and just as they successfully dwelled in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of bodhicitta, and I shall have 2 successful train the Bodhisattva practices. Gurus, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, please be here to me. Just as previous Buddhas have generated the mind of bodhicitta, and just as they successfully dwell in the Bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of bodhicitta, and I shall have 2 successful train the Bodhisattva practices. Gurus, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas, please be here to me. Just as previous Buddhas have generated the mind of bodhicitta, and just as they successfully dwelled in Bodhisattva practices, likewise for the benefit of all sentient beings, I will generate the mind of bodhicitta, and likewise shall have 2 successful train the Bodhisattva practices. Okay, having taken the aspiration Bodhisattva vow, just feel the joy of having received the aspiration Bodhisattva vow, and all the Buddhas Bodhisattvas, they're so happy and proud of you. This pride and happiness Buddhas Bodhisattvas invoke the Vajra moon at their hearts to multiply infinite number of times. Like rain shower, they descend to merge with the one that we visualize in your heart, thereby blessing, become non-dual and stabilized of the Vajra moon that we visualize in your heart. Likewise, rain shower, all the replicas of Vajra moon from all the Buddhas Bodhisattvas, they descend to merge with the one that we visualize the heart of your mother, and the heart of the father, and the heart of each one of family members, including children, and all the dear Mother, the dear Mother being in your country, in the world, in the Milky Way galaxy, and the entire universe. Now, everyone, the Vajra moon that you have shared with them, they're being blessed by all these rain, like rain shower of the Vajra moon from all the Buddhas Bodhisattvas. They're blessed, become non-dual and stabilized of the Vajra moon that you've shared with all the demonstrated beings. Okay, feel this joy over having received that spiritual Bodhisattva vow, and that too being blessed by all the Buddhas Bodhisattvas, particularly Buddha Shakyamuni and His Holiness the Dalai Lama. On this very auspicious day, the Buddha Shakyamuni turned the first wheel of the Dharma. Okay. Okay, come out now, come out in practice. Okay, now I carry on with the text where we left yesterday. Okay, screen sharing. Okay. Yesterday what we did was that first, the basic the teaching on dependent origination by the Buddha Shakyamuni in the, let's say, the 2 forms. One, when the Buddha taught that whosoever sees dependent origination will see the Dharma, and whosoever sees the Dharma will see the Buddha. So this is one part we need to remember. And our job, this is what the Buddha taught, and our job in our life is try to see dependent origination, the 3 levels of dependent origination. And whatever we learn, whatever practices that we do, see if they have any correlation with us becoming closer towards the understanding of dependent origination, the 3 levels of dependent origination. And particularly the dependent origination, the way and the manner in which Maitreya responded to Shariputra's question about what the Buddha Shakyamuni meant by dependent origination when he taught that whosoever sees dependent origination will see the Dharma. So likewise, what is this Dharma? See if a mind goes closer towards the Dharma, which Arya Maitreya identified here, which we are reading now. Then finally, the consummate result of the enlightenment and the Buddhahood. Whosoever sees the Dharma will see the Buddha. So what is this Buddha? We need to remember all these things and see whatever practice that we do, see that if they have any correlation to bring us closer towards the understanding of dependent origination, thereby taking us closer towards Dharma, and thereby taking closer towards our attainment of the Buddhahood. Gade gade para gade parasam gade bodhi swaha. Okay, so in this connection, dependent origination, the second part which we need to remember of the Buddha's teachings is that when the Buddha taught, because this exists, that exists. Because this is produced, that is produced. And because of ignorance, the formation is created, or the karma is created, because of which the ignorance comes into existence, because of which the name and form, and the sources, their contact, and the feeling, craving, grasping, becoming, birth, aging and death, and the great heap of suffering originates. Then the Buddha continues. When the ignorance ceases, the formation ceases. When the formation ceases, consciousness ceases. When consciousness ceases, name and form ceases. And name and form ceases, sixth sense ceases. And sixth sense ceases, context ceases. Then the feelings, and then the craving, grasping, becoming, birth, aging and death cease. And with this, the entire great heap of suffering ceases. If possible, try to remember these 12 links and to remember these basic teachings of the Buddha, which is like the ground, solid ground for our the development in the spiritual journey. Okay, so with this, we were reading whosoever sees dependent origination will see the Dharma. So what is the Dharma in this context? It says, what is the Dharma? The Dharma is the eightfold path of the noble ones. Eightfold Noble Path. And the Eightfold Noble Path is something common to all the Buddhist traditions. Theravada Buddhism, the Chinese Buddhism, or Tibetan Buddhism. Now better to put it away when in the manner in which His Holiness the Dalai Lama classifies the Buddhism. Buddhism in Pali language and Buddhism in Sanskrit language. This is very comprehensive way of classifying Buddhism into the two groups. And yet, the two share the same teacher. The two share many teachings in common. So, one of which is this, for example, say the Sutra of Dependent Origination. This is something common to both the traditions. So, Eightfold Noble Path is common to all the Buddhist traditions. Dhamma is the Eightfold Noble Path, along with the Eightfold Noble Path, along with the attainment of the results and nirvana. So what are the Eightfold Noble Paths? They are identified here. So all these bodies being taught here, see if our daily habits, if our daily activities correlate thought processes, physical, verbal, and mental activities, they correlate with these 8 noble paths. The first one says, right view. Right view is to see things like a dream. In the most sophisticated form, to see things as empty of true existence in your meditative state. Right thought. When you come out of the meditation, then your thoughts should be imbued with what you've meditated earlier, which is the emptiness of objective existence. And of course, the emptiness, there are so many layers the Buddha taught. The first, emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self. Number 2, emptiness of autonomous substantial reality. Number 3, emptiness of external reality. Number 4, emptiness of true existence while not rejecting objective existence. And finally, the emptiness of objective existence. So there are so many layers of emptiness being taught. And here I can see that there are many of you who already exposed to the all these teachings on the 5 levels of emptiness. And those of you who are new to this, don't worry too much. Of course, that we need to study more extensively on these 5 levels of emptiness or 5 levels of selflessness. And some right view, the Eightfold Noble Path. First, the right view, or you meditated in your meditative equipoise. Right thought. When you come out in the post-meditative session, then what do you do? Rabbiana, Sisina. And in the post-meditative session, say your thoughts, remembering what you meditated in your meditative equipoise state. Then right speech. When you come out, to be mindful of what you speak. What you speak, not to hurt others, and what you speak, the right speech. And of course, this is so important. Practically speaking, it's not while, say, the actual accomplishment of these practices are taught to be on a high level, but these are related to our day-to-day life, the practice. The speech, for example, what do we say? We should be extremely careful that, okay, let's say, what to speak, to whom to speak, when to speak, and then how much to speak, and how to speak. We should be mindful of all these, because even though you are speaking the truth, but it can easily offend others. And following the Bodhisattva path, one of the greatest practices with Bodhisattvas is not to injure the feelings of others. To give you a very simple example, let's say some people, we are totally insensitive to others' thoughts. It is not deliberate attempt. It is not intentional. Say, for example, there are 2 people, and there are 2 persons from let's say, from a same team, say, song competition or dance competition, from a school, and say there's like 20 school children, and then 2 of them somehow come to see you. And from the 2, there's one who is exceptionally good. And then you just look at that person, you perform so well. And you are amazing. So when you say that, you are in a way saying that the other person is not good. So what you say, although it is a reality, it's a truth. It is a truth. And then that is really appreciate the person's achievement, but we should be very sensitive to who is a accompanying person. Is it the right time for you to say this? So we should be very careful. So, for example, and an example that I can give is that, say, the one very common example usually given is that if a hunter or say a nasty person is chasing somebody, chasing a little boy, little girl, or somebody, the brutal person, a bully is chasing another person, and the person happens to pass by your right hand side, and the bully comes and asks you, where did this person go? And if you say, yes, I'm telling the truth, they pass by my right side, that person is going to be captured and going to be beaten up. It is your being insensitive to know when to say, where to say. Although it is truth, doesn't mean that you have to utter it every day, every time. You have to know the place where to say, time when to say, how much to say, to whom to say, how to say. Oftentimes, they say the same sentence can be said in different ways. Say, while you want to convey the meaning to the person, but you're being very direct, other person can easily feel offended. You made the mistake. Let's say that other person made a mistake, and you go there and say, you made the mistake. And who will just say, who will be happy to say, yes, I made a mistake? No. So other person will feel offended. And if the other person is otherwise, having a very low self-esteem, even the little confidence the person has will be shattered by you saying that you made a mistake. Instead, finally, what you say is meant for the other person to listen to you. If the other person does not feel your love and affection, if the other person feels that you are not kind, the person will not even listen to you. The receptivity closes. So the whole purpose for you to say something, the purpose is defeated. Instead, if you first identify the good qualities of the person, it's not that everybody, the person has everything bad, everything negative. No, everybody has some good qualities. And some may have bad qualities as well. But everybody has the equal Buddha nature. Everybody, just as you have the right to change and transform, everybody else has the right to transform. So how to bring up transformation, that is important. So therefore, say you just say something good about the other person. Oh, I fully agree with you in terms of what you said, in terms of what you do. These are things that I really learned from you. There are so many good things that I've learned from you. Who will say such things? Only when the person has a sense of regard for you. Only if the person has a sense of respect for you or affection for you. So with this, other person will instantly listen to you. The receptivity opens. Then you can say that we all make mistakes here and there, and I also make the same mistake so many times. Last time, what you said, this exactly same thing, same mistake that I used to make so many times. So it's a very nice way of saying that you made the mistake, but acknowledging that you also make the same mistake, but not offend the other person. But instead, the other person feels like rectifying the mistakes. So therefore, right speech, this is so important. And then right action. What we engage in should not be to harm others. It should be a right action. And then right livelihood. The livelihood should not be on the basis of the corruption, scandals, and so forth. Right effort. And say the effort driven by the enthusiasm towards dharma, towards benefit others. And right mindfulness, this is more specialized into the meditation, right? Mindfulness, to be mindful of what you're doing. Mindfulness, there are so many layers of the mindfulness meditation. For example, like say some very simple meditation, mindfulness meditation, say walking meditation. Walking meditation. For some people, when they just sit to do the meditation, instantly they fall asleep. For them, it's good to do walking meditation because that likelihood for you to doze off is much less when you are physically moving, walking. So walking meditation. Okay, now I've lifted the right foot. Now I'm putting it down. I lift my left foot up. And then when you talk, well, now I'm talking to this person, I'm going to say this word. And even you're raising your hand, I'm raising a hand. Now I might say, I lift from the glass. So be mindful of all. This is a very simple meditation of the mindfulness. So this is the practice of mindfulness per se. And now there's a practice of mindfulness with the contents, rich contents of the virtuous contents. For example, say that many of the teachers, what they do is that when they go to different places, then when they say for the place to sleep, say where you put your feet. If there are tangas displayed there, the precious books displayed there, then you remove them. Be mindful of these. Be mindful. And then let's say that, so these are not just being mindful of a rich, virtuous contents. It becomes extremely rich, virtuous, the mindfulness. And then in some cases, what they do is that, okay, Whereas my teachers say, my teacher, in which direction is my teacher? For example, you are in France, where's my teacher? Like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he's in India. Which direction? To the east? To the east? Okay, I should not put my feet in that direction. So like this, you are being so mindful. These are extremely sophisticated the practice of the mindfulness. Okay, then let's say that cooking food, you boil some vegetables, or you boil the noodles, spaghetti, and so forth, and then you are now to drain the water, hot water. You just drain it directly in the sink. You kill millions of worms there, not being mindful. So now the mindfulness is mindful of the compassion. Okay, I should not be draining this hot water directly into the sink. I will drain it in a container, big container there, and let it cool down. Meanwhile, say the food, the spaghetti, whatever you like to cook, you can cook it after draining it in the big container, another container, rather than in the sink directly. So these are the mindfulness of your compassion. These are so precious. So, okay, now I'm lifting my right foot up, now putting it down. So the object per se is not really virtuous. Right foot, left foot, my right hand, left hand, this is not virtuous. But not killing, not harming, protecting the lives of the millions of worms, this extremely great virtues. So mindfulness enriched with virtues. So these are the things that we need to remember, the mindfulness. Screen sharing. So when you talk about the Eightfold Noble Paths, we need to try to relate these in our day-to-day life, not just leave it there, the path of seeing, path of meditation. No, we relate it to our own life, and the accomplishment of the consummate form of the Eightfold Noble Paths can happen on these high levels, but we can relate this to our own day-to-day life practice. And then the right concentration. Concentration is the ability to focus your mind single-pointedly on a particular object. And in this connection, I also like to share something with you. When you talk about the concentration, people oftentimes talk about be in the present moment. This is a very famous thing. Be in the present moment. Forget the past. Forget the future. The past is gone. The future is yet to come. Be in the present moment, right? And many people, they're so fascinated by this. Wow, that's amazing, right? Why should you worry? Be in the present moment. You are not in the present moment. You're worrying about the past. You're worrying about the future, right? Be in the present moment so that your worries will be removed. Okay, this, I would say that this is going to say the naivety of understanding the present moment. What is meant by the be in the present moment? Being very naive. The real understanding of the being in the present moment is very sophisticated. One time, I was there for a meeting of one institution. And there was one Indian diplomat. He was also there. He's exceptionally bright, and very decent gentleman. And during the discussion, the head of the institute, he was trying to give a very good picture of the point for which we came there for the meeting. And then the diplomat, he came from the government side, Indian government side. He's so sharp to identify the loopholes. He could just pick up the loopholes, identify loopholes so easily. I was so impressed, extremely sharp. After the meeting, then he said, I have a question for you. After the meeting, when we were heading towards the lunch. He said that people talk about the meditation of being at the present moment. And I said, yes, there's such practice. He said that, but I could not really understand what it means. They say that don't think about the past, don't think about the future, be in the present moment. If you do that, we learn from the past experiences. We have to plan for the future. If these two things are not there, just be in the present moment, then you will fall into a disaster. You have no plan for the future, for like 5 years plan, 20 years plan. Then you have no, say everything just should happen just randomly without any plan. The government cannot operate like this. And even the individual's life cannot be operated like this. This is what he said. Wow. I said that you are the right person to understand what is meant by meditation on the present moment. Otherwise, many people, they are just some people say that, oh, be in the present moment, don't worry. You're worrying, you go into depression because you think about the past, you think about the future. Future is not yet to come. Past is gone. Why are you worrying about the past? Why are you about to be in the present moment? You don't know how to be in the present moment. And this is why how many people are misguided by these teachings. So, but this teaching, be in the present moment, this is amazing teaching. Yet, when people don't understand it properly, they can be misguided and they will mislead the others also. So what is the proper meaning? Proper meaning is that be in the present moment with respect to any object that you're meditating on. Be in the present moment with respect to any object that you're meditating on. For example, say you are a strategist. You are part of the think tank. Part of the think tank of the government of the nation. So you have to think of you have to create plans. You have to make plans for the future. So you should be present with respect to the future. You should be present with respect to the past. Don't be deviated here and there. With the past, whatever you think of the past, what are the past mistakes? What are the past strengths? Be there with present. With respect to the past, not deviating to present, the present, which is future with respect to the past as present. So don't be deviated to the future and the present. So just be in present moment with respect to the past. Be in the present moment with respect to the present. Be in the present moment with respect to the future. And if you are somebody whose job is to think of the holistic, past, present, future, be in the present moment with respect to the holistic 3 times. This is meaning of the present moment. He said that, wow, that makes sense. Otherwise, thus far, it did not really make any sense to me while people are being swayed by this like a flood. People are being flooded by this thought, but be in the present moment, but they are so fascinated by this thought. And I don't really agree with what is being said. Now it makes sense. In other words, be concentrated. Be concentrated. This is the point. Okay, next. And the right mindfulness and right concentration. So, what is the Dharma? Dharma does not mean the Eightfold Noble Path alone. Eightfold Noble Path constitutes a part of the Dharma, which the Buddha indicated as whosoever sees dependent origination will see the Dharma. This Dharma is constituted partly of the Eightfold Noble Paths. And then what else? It says, these Eightfold Noble Paths of Noble Ones, combined with the attainment of the results. Eightfold Noble Paths, which is a very broad picture, very broad, and say the wisdom emptiness can go in there, the bodhicitta practice can go in there, all these practices can go in there, of course, more precisely with the with the wisdom element. And the results, with the practice of this, accompanied by the proper enthusiasm, motivation, bodhicitta, renunciation, then you attain the result, various results in the form of the part of preparation, part of seeing, part of meditation, and this at the state of cessation of the mental defilements, of the afflictive obscurations, of the cognitive obscurations, so forth. There is various results. They also fall in the category of the dharma. And nirvana. Nirvana is also a result. But why nirvana is classified as separate from the results is because that to specialize, to say that nirvana is the ultimate goal with respect to somebody who is seeking personal liberation. This is the ultimate goal. So this becomes very specialized. For example, like the merchants and the chief of the merchant. Chief of the merchant is also a merchant, but chief of the merchant is taken out as separate from the merchant, although he or she is a merchant. Likewise, say the ministers and the prime minister. Prime minister also a minister, but he's the main minister. So therefore, the ministers and the prime minister. So likewise, results and a very specialized result in the form of nirvana is what the Bhagavan has called the dharma. Okay. So here the dharma is in the context of the paths to be followed when you are in the training stage. When you're in training stage, before you attain Buddhahood. Next one is the Buddhahood. The next line reads, who is the Bhagavan Buddha? So it says, whosoever sees the dependent origination will see the dharma. And whosoever sees the dharma will see the Buddha. So what is the Buddha? Who is the Bhagavan Buddha? A Buddha so-called because of comprehending all dharmas, because of knowing all dharmas, having the knowledge of all phenomena, is endowed with the wisdom eye of the noble ones and the body of the dharma. So the body of the dharma here means the dharmakaya. Because this is literal sometimes when you do too literal translation, we tend to be deviated from the actual meaning. It simply means the dharmakaya. Dharma, body means the kaya. Dharmakaya. So noble ones, the eyes of noble ones, eyes of the Arya beings and the Dharmakaya. The one who attained the Dharmakaya, who has attained the wisdom eye of the Arya beings to see the ultimate reality as it is. And thus perceives the dharmas of those still in training and those beyond training. Meaning that the Buddha is somebody who knows the dharmas which are perceived by all the beings who are in the stage of training, as well as all the beings who are beyond the trainings, who reach the Bodhisvaha. How does one see dependent arising? Now the next question is, after identifying what the dependent origination is, how does one see dependent arising then? First, say you know the object dependent arising, and then how does one see dependent arising? In what aspect? How does one see dependent arising? On this point, the Bhagavan said, one who sees dependent arising as a constant, okay, dependent arising as a constant. Say here the dependent arising, when you talk about dependent arising, keep in mind that okay, let's say the flower is dependent originated. And this flower, because that it is dependent originated, it implies that it is empty of independent entity. How many agree with me? Raise hands. Because the flower is dependent originated, it is empty of independent entity. Raise hands. Good. So when we say that the flower is dependent originated, so how do you see that it is dependent originated? For example, with your naked eyes, you see that the gardener first plants the seeds, and then the shoot is germinated, and then gradually the flower grows. This is what you see. Dependent origination, how the flower comes into origination by dependence on the earlier cosmic conditions. So this is one aspect of dependent origination. So with this dependent origination is seen by your normal consciousness, which is known as the conventional analysis. Now, when we say that this arises dependently means it is empty of independent existence. So the other side, we see the same thing. The flower is dependently originated. Other side is the flower is empty of independent existence. There are two things. So one is when you say dependent origination explicitly, implicitly, the emptiness is indicated. So emptiness is seen by the ultimate analysis. For example, let's say this the same flower. The same flower, we see that flower is growing by dependence on the water, soil, sunflower, and so forth. At the same time, we see that flower on the atomic level, flower makes no sense. Flower disappears. From the object, there's nothing to be identified as a flower. On the atomic level, the flower disappears. The when and the manner in which you meditate on the emptiness of the self, as a part of the Vajra Moon practice, which we did before this class, at the beginning of this class, that the self, when your mind goes too close to the object, then the self dissolves. Self is empty. Likewise, the flowers will also dissolve. Was also empty. So that mind which sees the emptiness of the flower, that mind which sees the emptiness of self, that mind is known as the ultimate analysis. Whereas if you want to enjoy the flower, don't look at it through by going too close towards it. If you want to enjoy the flower, then keep a distance and look at the flower. How many agree with me, raise hands? Good. If you want to enjoy rainbow, don't go too close to the rainbow. If you could go too close to the rainbow will disappear. You will not enjoy the rainbow. If you want to enjoy the rainbow, keep distance. Keep distance meaning go away from the object. Go away from the object, which means that you are not seeing the objective reality. You are seeing the subjective reality when you go away from the object. Whereas if you want to see what really is there from the object, then you go closer to the object. The mind which goes, the same mind, the same mind which looks at the object, okay, the mind which looks at the same object, this flower, the mind which looks at the same object from distance and enjoy this as a flower, that mind is known as conventional analysis. Okay, the same mind, the mind which looks at the same object to appreciate this is a flower, that mind is known as conventional analysis. The mind which goes closer to the object to see what it is, then the flower disappears. That mind is known as ultimate analysis. Okay, so I can see that many of you are already from the Narada Master's course, Narada Diploma course 4. For you, okay, NDC 4, I'm not too sure, you are not too exposed to this concept yet, but the those from NMC 2, NMC 1, 2, NDC 1, 2, 3, you are supposed to have already introduced to this concept, ultimate analysis, conventional analysis. Okay, so how many agree with me that the same object can be seen through two ways? One, from distance, and you see this as a flower. How many agree with me, in a sense? Whether you are from NMC, NDC, or you are not at all from anything else, still you agree with me, in your sense, that the same object can be seen by one mind from distance to appreciate this. Oh, there's a flower there. Raise hands. That mind is known as conventional analysis. Next, if the mind with the same object, another mind goes too close to this object, on the atomic level, the flower disappears. You will never find the flower. How many agree with me, in a sense? Good. If you agree with me, that mind which goes too close to the object and the flower disappears, that mind is also discovering something else, that objectively there's no flower. So that mind is known as ultimate analysis. Ultimate meaning objective. From the object, what is there? Ultimately, what is there from the object? That mind is known as ultimate analysis. The mind which runs away from the object, the mind is going towards the subject. So the object that is seen by that mind is known as conventional analysis or subjective analysis. conventional analysis. Two minds can see the same object in two different ways. Therefore, the Buddha taught in Heart Sutra, form is empty. Emptiness is form. Okay, let's say that now they say there are two groups of people, group A and group B. People from group A and group B. Group A looks at it through conventional analysis, and group B looks at this object, the same object, through ultimate analysis. So what group A sees as a flower, the same object which group A sees as a flower, is what group B sees as empty of being flower. Form is empty. You're getting it? Number two, what group B looks at, when the group B looks at the same object from distance, sees this as a flower or a form, the same object seen by group A through ultimate analysis will see that this is empty. Okay, form is, what group A sees this as a form, and group B sees this as, with the ultimate analysis, you see this as form, there's no flower there, flowers, it's not there, it's just atoms. So what group A sees a flower, to group B is empty of being a flower. Form is empty. Now what group B sees as emptiness, there's no flower there, is what group A sees as a flower. Emptiness is form, emptiness is flower. So this is how we have to know the meaning of the presentation of these 4 lines. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Form is not other than emptiness, emptiness is also not other than the form. So this is how we understand the Heart Sutras, the reading of the Heart Sutras, 4 lines. Okay. So now understood this, that on the conventional level, the flower is different from the table, the chair, and so forth. On the conventional level, when the same object looked at by the conventional analysis, then the flower, the house, the table, your body, the food, the computer, they're all different. But on the ultimate level, everything is same. On the ultimate level, everything is empty of true objective existence. There's nothing to be identified as objective real when subjected to ultimate analysis. This is the commonality, to the common feature to all the phenomena. So we see that on the ultimate level, that reality that you see on the ultimate level, that flower is empty objectively. The flower is objectively empty. It doesn't mean the flower does not exist. Flower does exist. It exists in the eyes of the conventional analysis. It does not exist in the eyes of the ultimate analysis. But the flower is objectively empty. When you say this, that reality, empty objectivity, is constant to all phenomena. So therefore the text reads, screen sharing. Okay. Okay. How does one see dependent arising? On this point, the Bhagavan said, one who sees dependent arising as constant. Constant meaning that emptiness of true existence, emptiness of objective existence, this is constant at all times to all objects. So that is referring to the ultimate truth. And dependent arising seen from the other side. The other side, the dependent arising and emptiness, these two are the two sides of the same coin. Other side of the coin of dependent arising is emptiness of independent existence, emptiness of objective existence. So emptiness of objective existence as ultimate reality, that is constant for all phenomena. And without life force meaning that then the life force has a connotation of the permanent self. That if it is constant, then the many philosophers, they believe in permanent self. So this is constant. The ultimate reality is constant. It's like a permanent soul, permanent self, like a life force, permanent life force. No, these two are different. These two are different. It's the without life force, devoid of life force. Okay, without life force, this is like the not being life force rather than the without. Without is a connotation of, it's a slight, the nuanced, the different connotation. Instead of without life force, the better would be like the without being a life force or not being a life force. If it's not being a life force, maybe then these objects are being influenced by other life forces. No, they are devoid by the influence of the other life force. Life force has a connotation of some permanent entity, a devoid of life force. And true, okay, the true meaning that it is of the nature of dependent origination. It is true. It is true in sense that only dependent origination is operating on the phenomena. It's not that they are randomly coming into existence or created by some permanent entity and so forth. True in ways that is the nature of them, the truth of the dependent origination. And then next is the true and unmistaken. Unmistaken because this is something which we can verify by valid cognition. And then unborn. Unborn meaning that it does not have an intrinsic birth. Nothing has intrinsic or objective birth. And not arisen. And some people, okay, although it may be unborn earlier, okay, it may be unborn today, but maybe it arose some other times in the past. It arose. No, even in the past also it was not arisen, not arisen. Then uncreated, that it is not created by any agent, any external agent, because things are all dependently originated, but depends on the respective causes and conditions, depends on the mental imputation and so forth. There's nothing really created by the very powerful external agent. So uncreated by external agents. Then uncompounded, okay. So things, there's nothing which is intrinsically compounded. So say these are things that we need to be careful. There's nothing which is intrinsically been compounded by, say, the components. Then unobstructed meaning that this truth of the emptiness of objective reality, this truth of being like a dream, this is something which is applicable only to some and not applicable to others. This is not like this. It is unobstructedly true to all phenomena. Emptiness of objective existence. This is a truth which pervades across the board of existence, which means that all phenomena follows this principle. There's nothing that obstructed, meaning that some follow this principle and some others that have been obstructed to follow this principle. No, everything follows this principle. Imperceptible. When we perceive something as object or subject. So this object-subject, intrinsic object-subject duality is non-existent. So therefore, there's nothing to be perceived as objectively object or objectively as subject. Imperceptible. Then tranquil. Tranquil is the state of the peace. State of the peace, and the state of peace where you don't feel any harm in the experience of emptiness. So therefore, the wisdom of emptiness is described as the most fearless mind. When you experience emptiness, and particularly when you the experience emptiness in this bare form, all the fears dissolve, including the harm doers. All the harms, they dissolve in the experience of emptiness. So you feel the tranquility. And then, of course, next, the fearless, as described earlier, emptiness is described as the most fearless state. Then incontrovertible. Once you understand what emptiness is, no force can change your mind. That this is a reality which cannot be deviated by any other concepts. Okay, they're not exhaustible. Say we have, for example, say the petrol, the gas in your cars, they can exhaust, and your money can exhaust, life can exhaust, but in the intrinsic reality, and ultimately, there's no exhaustion. And by nature, never stilled. By nature, never stilled. Of course, emptiness is very stilled. Why it is described as by nature, never stilled, meaning that stillness has many connotations. Stillness has that, okay, this person has been very restless the last many years. Okay, restless, and mind is not still the last many years, and because of the practice of because of meditation on the dependent origination sutra, because of this, now the person's mind is becoming still. From the non-stillness, it becomes still. You're getting it? So it is a connotation. Stillness is a connotation. One connotation is that once it was not still, and now it has become still. So the thing is that this ultimate reality, it has been in that state, in the state of stillness forever. Only thing we fail to discover that. It's not that one time it was not still and later on it becomes still. No, it has been in that state. It's never in the nature of becoming stilled. See here, stilled is becoming stilled, which means from a state of non-still to the stillness. No, it's not like this. It has been always in the state of the stillness. And who likewise sees the Dharma to be also constant. Okay, so now with this explanation, we have to apply this to the remaining points. And who likewise sees the Dharma, say dependent origination, to be seen with these quality attributes. Now the Dharma also to be seen, whosoever sees dependent origination will see the Dharma. Dharma also to be seen in the same fashion. Dharma also as constant. In the Dharma also, Dharma in the form of the truth of cessation. Again, cessation of suffering, nirvana, cessation of the miseries, cessation of samsara. In experience of emptiness, again is constant, without life force, devoid of life force, true, unmistaken, unborn, not erasing, uncreated, uncompounded, unobstructed, imperceptible, tranquil, fearless, incontrovertible, inexhaustible. Inexhaustible and never stilled, clearly understands the Dharma of the noble ones, and by thus acquiring such right knowledge, sees the Dharma, sees the Buddha. So these are the attributes. If you they learn these attributes first intellectually, and then meditate on emptiness, and then you also meditate on dependent origination, emptiness, two sides of the same coin, and then gradually, with each of these words should make sense to you that yes, ultimate reality. So it says that when you get a feeling that the ultimate truth is constant, ultimate truth is constant. It's the true nature of the all phenomena. If you get a clue of this, your enormous negative karmas that you accumulate in the past will be purified because of that. Because of this knowledge that the ultimate reality is of the emptiness is the ultimate nature. Emptiness is the nature which pervades all phenomena. If you get some clue of this, instantly, many lifetimes, say the negative karmas will be purified. You may be wondering why. And oftentimes, we do find that if you recite this mantra, then the 100,000 times of negative karmas that we accumulate in the past lives will be purified. But it is like, okay, I like to make it very clear. Some people, they want to go for shortcuts. or for purification, you have to meditate on emptiness. But this in the sutra, it says that if you recite this one mantra, recite the mantra once will help purify the 100,000 life, say the kalpas, eons of negative karma that we accumulated. So why should I spend so much number of years, 30 years, 40 years into study of emptiness, reflection emptiness, and which too, I'm not sure whether you'll get it. Why don't I just recite the mantra just once and then your negative karma is purified? So this says is it true or not that the one single mantra recited just once has the capacity to eradicate all these negative karmas of the past thousands of the eons of negative karmas accumulated? Is it really true? If you ask me the question, yes. What the Buddha taught, of course, there are sometimes there are interpretable teachings, with definite teachings, and these teachings are true. They're true. But then what's the point of spending so much years in study of emptiness, so forth? Okay, if I tell you that, what's your car? You said that I have a car, whatever brand it is, whatever company it is, I have this car. And this car, the mileage, what's the mileage? Then the car seller will tell you that the mileage is like, any idea? Okay, 30 kilometers, 30 miles per liter of gas. 30 miles, it can run 30 miles, right? And your car, it runs only 5 miles per liter, right? So which means that what he said is, what the car seller said is not true. It is true provided all the other conditions are intact. The road is smooth. And the driver is expert driver, right? Just stop the car and then still the gas is on. No, the driver is expert driver. The road is smooth, it's not bumpy, right? And the machines, the engine is brand new. Provided all these factors are intact, then it can run 40 miles per liter. This is mileage. Where the car, you use a car on the bumpy road with a new driver, and an old car, engine old, although the mileage says 40 kilometers per hour, it can run, if it cannot run even 5 kilometers per hour. Don't forget it. So therefore, what are the other factors to be intact when we recite these mantras? Like meditation on emptiness, a deep conviction in the constancy of the emptiness. How the emptiness is incontrovertible. How emptiness is tranquil. And who taught this? The Buddha, with the enormous compassion, with all these factors intact. Then in your case, one-time recitation of one mantra has the ability to wash away the millions of eons and lifetimes of your negative karmas accumulated. So these are things that we need to learn. Otherwise, sometimes the Dharma, some people, just hearing some of the words, and some teachers say recite this mantra for purification, Vajrasattva mantra for purification. Then you think that actually it happens. Yes, it has the power, but to really feel the whole power, all the other factors should be intact. Okay, let's not forget it. And we have another 25 minutes, and I will leave the last 10 minutes for question answers, because sometimes when I invite questions, only one question comes up. So the 30 minutes is waste. So what you do is that we'll continue reading it, and I'll leave the last 10 minutes for question answers. Okay. Okay. Why is it called Tataskava? Why is it called dependent arising? It is called dependent arising because it is causal and conditional. So these are extremely precious information, the Dharma that we're learning. Very precious. Why is it called dependent arising? It is called dependent arising and dependent origination. These two mean the same. It's just a matter of English translation. It's just a matter of the difference in English translation. It's called dependent arising because it is causal and conditional. One is causal, other one is conditional. And it is not dependent origination, is never non-causal and never non-conditional. And of course, keep in mind dependent origination in the context of the composite phenomena, because dependent origination is not only confined to the composite phenomena. All phenomena falls under the category of dependent origination. Chittamatra and lower schools will differ. Chittamatra and lower schools, for them, dependent origination connotes only the composite phenomena. Whereas for the Madhyamikas, that dependent origination connotes all phenomena. It's not only composite phenomena, composite as well as non-composite phenomena. In other words, every phenomena is qualified as dependent originated or dependent arising. Okay, so whereas here, non-causal, not non-causal, not non-conditional, this is confined to the dependent origination of the composite phenomena. Okay, in this connection, the Bhagavan concisely taught the characteristics of dependent arising as follows. Results come from their own specific conditions. For example, like you plant apple seed, don't expect mangoes growing out of that. You plant apple seeds, only apples will grow. You plant the poisonous seed of poisonous tree, don't expect medicines growing out of that. Only poisons will grow, no apples will grow. So therefore, if you do negative karmas, only pains will result. If you don't want the pains to arise, if you want to experience happiness, then plant virtues, the seeds of virtues. Results come from their own specific conditions. Whether Tathagatas appear or not, this true nature of thing will remain. Okay, look, this is so important. This reality of dependent origination is not discovered by the Buddha. This is not invented by the Buddha. That the reality of dependent origination is not invented by the Buddha, is discovered by the Buddha. How it is discovered? Because this is a reality which existed way before the Buddha came into existence. It exists as true way before 2,500 years ago. The whole universe has been operating on a basis of dependent origination with causes and with conditions. Okay, but the Tathagata meaning the Buddhas, Tathagata is one of the epithets of the Buddha. Whether the Tathagatas appear or not, this true nature of things as dependent origination will remain. It's the true nature, the constancy of Dhamma. The constancy of Dhamma, as explained earlier, the immutability of Dhamma, that's unchanging, that always follows the principle of dependent origination. It will never at one time, okay, now the principle of dependent origination does not hold true anymore. No, there's no time like this. It's immutable, consistent with dependent arising. Suchness, this is reality. Unmissing suchness, which is seen by the valid mind, not partial suchness, meaning that it is the reality to some phenomena and it's not the reality to some other phenomena. No, it's a reality to all phenomena, not partial suchness. Actuality, this is the truth to be seen by the Arya's meditative state, actuality. And the truth, unmistaken and unerring. Unerring meaning the pure wisdom. The pure wisdom connotes what cognizes the phenomena in an unerring form. So the wisdom, the ultimate reality, is the object of the pure wisdom which unerringly cognizes phenomena. So therefore, it is this emptiness is the unerring in nature. Moreover, dependent arising emerges from two principles. From what two principles? From a causal relation and a conditional relation. Okay, now earlier it taught the causal and the conditional. Now, more detailed explanation is going to be given here. Causal relation and a conditional relation. Now, dependent origination is going to be explained in the nuanced form. So, as a quick, the summary or the synopsis of these 2 points, causal relation and conditional relation, means that, say, for apple tree to grow, we need the apple seed as the main cause. apple seed as a main cause, instead of the rest of the factors are intact, and in place of the apple seed, if you replace the apple seed with a mango seed, only mangoes will grow, apple will not grow. Although the water is same, soil is same, sunlight is same, everything else is same, but if the seed is changed, then the whole result will change. So cause here refers to the substantial cause, the main cause, the primary cause. Then the conditional. The conditional is the adventitious nature, or the factors. Causal relation, the primary cause, and the secondary causes referred to as the conditional relation. And this will be explained later. Furthermore, it should be understood as twofold, outer and inner. Now, there are 4 words to keep in mind: causal, conditional, outer, and inner. Okay, what is outer? What is inner? The first inner meaning the sentient beings like us. We are referred to as the inner, the inner beings. Then the outer meaning the inanimate objects, like the flowers, like the trees, like the external objects, the inanimate objects. They are the outer. And say for the inner, like us, the human beings, animals, the health beings, Holy Ghost beings, all these beings, all the sentient beings, how they come into existence is by causal relation and is by conditional relation. It has a primary cause and it has a secondary causes. So what are the primary causes and what are the second causes will be dealt later on. Outer dependent origination, referring to the inanimate objects, like the flowers, like the trees, vegetation, and so forth, how the outer objects, also how they come into existence by causal relation and by conditional relation. All will be explained in more detail in the following passages. The first, what is the causal relation? What is the causal relation in outer dependent arising? Outer meaning like the flowers, okay, inanimate objects. It is as follows. From a seed comes a sprout. I say first the seed. That's outer, inanimate, and then the outer, and there's a causal state. Causal, okay. Causal meaning primary cause. Primary cause like the seed. First, from a seed arises a sprout. From the sprout, then the leaves come out. From the leaf, then the stem comes out. From the stem, the secondary stem comes out. Pedicel, the secondary stem, smaller stems come out of that. From the smaller cells, then the pistil comes. Pistil means the inner part of the flower. Inner part of the flower, the essence of the flower, the pistil comes into being. From the pistil, then the flowers grow. And from the flowers, then the fruit grows. So this is how the outer dependent origination, they comes into existence by causal relation. This is causal. Okay. Now the next part which is going to be discussed, which is going to be taught, this is so important that when we talk about, say, when we see that, that's amazing. When I was actually young, when I was, I think, in my teenage, when I was walking from TCF school, Dharamsala, TCF school to the main temple, on the road, I would see the wild vegetations, plants. And some of the plants, they're so, the leaves, they're so symmetrical, the grown. How the leaves grow, it is like 3 here, 3 here, and making a perfect shape. I was just wondering, that's amazing. How does this vegetation know that I have to grow with this kind of shape, where 3 here, 3 leaves here, and 3 leaves here? So perfect. There's such a synchrony there. And how does it know that? I used to think of that a lot. And then when I was done, later on, when I joined the Institute of Buddhist Dialectics, and then later joined the Debun Losina Monastery in South India. So there, in South India, this is what I noticed, that around the month of, say, the end of March, there's a rain shower. That rain shower is the for the farmers to moisten the land. Then there's the farmers that after the rain shower for like 1 or 2 days, then their job is to smash the solid the earth, smash. Then after that they put the seeds. After seed, then there's going to be a continuous rain shower for like the 1 week or 2 weeks, continuous shower of the rain. That is to let the seeds to get the water. Then after that, there's going to be a short break of the rain, no rain for about a few days. That is for the farmers to remove the weeds from the crops. Then another continuous rain for the next like maybe 3-4 weeks. That is to really let the crops to grow. Now the weed is no more there, grow. Then after that, the rain stops. If the rain doesn't stop, then the crops already ripened, the crops will be damaged. The rain stops for the farmers to gather the harvest. That's amazing. How does this weather, the weather know that now I should throw the rain there, I should shower the rain. Now I should stop. Otherwise, now they are removing the weeds. Otherwise, the weeds will continue to grow more, and the crops will not get the nutrition. So now how to shower the rain? Wow, that's amazing. I was so fascinated. How does this weather know that this is how they should help the farmers? That's amazing. Who's dictating? Who's dictating this the weather? There must be some agent to dictate the weather. Then another very fascinating thing that came to my mind was that in South India, we don't have water from the mountains. It's water from the earth, bore well. And I was just wondering, say those closer towards the snow mountains, they get the water directly from the glaciers. Then go further away from the mountains, then the rivers are there. And the rivers cannot run too long because the rivers water will evaporate on the way. So to save the water will go underground. So that people further away from the mountains, they can still get the water. Water will not evaporate. So they can do underground. And the people far away from the mountains, they can dig the ground and then they get water from there. And then all the used water, they're all dumped to the ocean. From the ocean, again, they're recycled. By the sun, they're recycled. They are taken in the air, in the sky, in the form of the vapor, cloud. Then the cloud does not throw the snow on the ocean, but it'll take to the highest point, mountains. That's amazing. And will throw the snow there, not in the plains, on the highest point there. And then the water is kept there in the form of snow. And then whatever is required, it melts. Not everything. If everything melts, then flood happens. And then at one point, then there's going to be shortage of water. So the water comes out at a very appropriate the proportion. Whatever is required melts, you get it. And then it melts continuously. The whole year long, you get the water. That's amazing. Who's doing this? I was really thinking. Then I must be in my 20s. Only two thoughts that came to my mind. Either God, creator God, or your karma. There's no other answer from my point of view. Either creator God as external agent or your karma. Where you have the karma, for example, say somebody who is very meritorious person comes, where there's no water, spring water comes out. Where the vegetation is totally barren, vegetation starts to grow. Where everything's so dusty, and the what is that? The sandstorm, all these stop. And the weather becomes so cool, calm. When the meritorious people come, This is what happens. These are the realities that we can observe. So in my mind, as a young boy, only these two answers. Either there should be creator God who decide all these things on a massive scale, or it is your own karma, collective karma, or the beings too. And accepting creator God, there's always, you have to accept so many inconsistencies. There are many inconsistencies. Then who decides the creator God? And why he is, being good to some people, why not do good to some other people, and so forth. All these inconsistencies are there. So the only choice left is the karma, your own karma. Okay, so now what is karma? Karma is not like that you have created some agent outside there, then agent is now overseeing you. It's not like that. Your own actions give rise to the results. Cause and effect, cause and effect, cause and effect, where your intention is involved. That's it. Okay, so now they continue reading this passage before we before I entertain questions. Okay, so now so with the cause and effect, then the fruit will form. Then the next paragraph, in the process, the seed does not think. Yes, this is very important point we have to remember, because what happens is that like the thought that came to me, there's some agent. Agent means some who is a thinking agent. Thinking agent, which makes a plan. Okay, now I have to shower rain. Now I have to stop the rain. Now I have to let the water, the snow melt. Now I have to let the water be in the form of the river. Now to let the water go into the earth. Now I have to evaporate the ocean and take it back to the. So there's some thinking agent. So when these phenomena happens, our human minds or the ordinary minds, there are, say, the three possibilities for the ordinary people. The three possibilities of thought processes that come to our mind. One is that, oh, there must be some agent there, very powerful agent who is deciding, like the thought that came to me, either God or say like karma, some very powerful agent deciding for us. This was actually what happened during the time of the Homo sapiens. 0.3 million years ago. 0.3 million years ago, the Homo sapiens came into existence. Then they say in the night, there's so much of fear because the wild animals were so rampantly running here and there. They can eat you up. Your whole family can be eaten up. Your children can be eaten up. In the daytime, the sun shines and then you are more safe. You can see the animals and you can run for your life. So they start to worship the sun. You are the one who protects us. You're getting it? Thinking that sun is protecting you. Sun is just what is that? A ball of fire, right? A ball of fire. What is that? Hydrogen burning, becoming helium. And one time, then there's what is that? The gas there, the fuel. Hydrogen fuel will exhaust and the sun will die, right? It's not really a God. It's not really an agent there. But the Homo sapiens, the early Homo sapiens, they see sun as a God because you are protecting us. And the fire. So earlier, they kill animals, eat animals bare. Later on, they discover the fire, and the fire keeps them warm in the winter and keeps animals away from them and makes the food nice, better. So they start to worship the fire. And sometimes the wind can be so powerful, strong, so ferocious. They're scared of the wind god. So thinking that there's some agent there who's so angry now. He's so angry now. Now the water is washing everything away, flood. Then the water god. All these came into existence because of the human thinking that when something happens, which helps you, which harms you, you are scared that there's some external agent there doing it. So this is one. You go too deep into blind faith, number one. Number two, that No, what is this? This is all just random. Anything can happen at any time. Random. No cause and effect. No karma, nothing. No God, no karma, no cause and effect. It's just random, right? This another extreme. So what's the third one? Third one is here. In the process of seed, in the process, the seed does not think. The seed gives rise to the, the seed, I form the sprout. The seed does not think that I am creating the sprout. When the causing conditions are gathered, the sprout comes to existence. Nor does the sprout think I'm formed by the seed. Likewise, the flower does not think. This is just dependent origination. It's not that the seed is thinking that I should produce a sprout. The sprout thinks that, okay, I'm produced by the seed. No, it's just dependent or play of the dependent origination. I'm formed by the seed. Likewise, the flower does not think I form the fruit. Nor does the fruit think I'm formed by the flower. Yet, if there is a seed, the sprout will take form and arise, and so on until finally, likewise, if there's a flower, the fruit will take form and arise. Thus is the causal relation in outer dependent arising to be seen. If you and I, if you learn these concepts so well, the reality of dependent origination, then we are implanting a seed within our mind not to follow blindly. Not to follow blindly, and even in the future lifetimes, you'll see that your mind becomes very rational. Your mind becomes extremely sensible to see the reality of efficacy of dependent origination. Okay, next. So how is the conditional relation in outer dependent arising to be seen? Okay, we'll stop here. We have another few minutes. I'd like to entertain 1 or 2 questions. Please raise hands if you have questions. Okay, Henrik, unmute.
Yes. Can you hear me, Geshe?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm sorry, I was a bit slow, but when we were talking about the passage, which began with, how does one see dependent arising? And then there was a few terms.
Yes.
Were these terms supposed to describe dependent arising, things that are dependently arisen, or the mind that perceives dependent arising, or is it a mix?
Okay, this is a good question. Let's say that this flower, this object, which we identify as a flower, if you look at it through electron microscope, you will not see the flower. So that reality, absence of the flower in the eyes of the electron microscope, that reality is constant. That reality is without life force. So that reality, meaning, in other words, the emptiness is explained. Emptiness as the ultimate reality of the objects.
Okay, and that's true for all the terms as well that follows.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Geshe.
Welcome. More questions? Yes, Pavanila.
Geshe, I just wanted to clarify, dependent arising per se is a permanent phenomena like emptiness.
Answer is yes.
And you say that dependent arising and emptiness are two sides of the same coin. So they are two isolates of the same phenomena of lack of objective existence. Is that correct?
Let's say these are the two isolates of the same object. Don't say same object. When I say same object of emptiness object, you're already picking up the one isolate.
Okay.
Right? Just say that these are the two isolates of the same object. Same emptiness of the flower, dependent origin of the flower. These are the two isolates of the same object, which is the flower.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any more questions? Okay, from Kalachakra Center? Anyone? Okay, no one? La. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Okay. Do you mean to say that the 12 links of dependent origination, the earlier links are the substantial cause of the later links? Is your question? Is this a question? Okay. Okay. I would say that this is something that it can be a mixture of both. In some cases, substantial cause as substantial cause. In some cases, the cooperative cause. In some cases, let me give an example. Let's say the first link, ignorance, gives rise to the karma, the formation, karma. The ignorance is one mental factor, and the karma is another mental factor. So the first moment of the ignorance is the substantial cause of the second moment of the ignorance. But the first moment of the ignorance is not the substantial cause of the second moment of the karma. Because karma is a very different the different mental factor. So these two cannot be like the substantial cause of another. So, but by the way, substantial cause does not mean that the primary cause does not, primary cause and substantial cause, these two are not synonymous. These two are not synonymous. Ignorance is the primary cause of creating the karmas, but the ignorance is not the substantial cause of the karma. You got it? Good. Any more questions? Any more questions? Okay, I'm glad that I left only 2 or 3 minutes for the question answers. If I left 30 minutes, then we are going to say, stay like this. Okay, good. We'll stop here for the endation prayer. Okay, I may request the Henrik to do the English reading of the endation prayer.
Okay, Geshe.
Henrik from Sweden.
Yes. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Shenresi Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the Brahman Yushi and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the Buddhas who appeared in the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May the Supreme Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. I dedicate the merit thus gathered toward the realizations of the deeds and the prayers of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times, and to the upholding of the Dharma of teaching and realization. May I in all lives through the force of this merit never separate from the 4 wheels of the Maya and vehicle, and accomplish all the stages of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect view, and the 2 stages. May sentient beings again and again make offerings to all the Buddhas, and may they be constantly joyful with the inconceivable bliss of the Buddhas. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state.
Okay, we'll recite the Heart Sutra mantra 3 times together. Deata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswaha Deata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswaha Dhyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswaha.
Thank you, everyone. And after every session, we will do the 3 prostration. And one more quick announcement while doing the prostration, that we will have the teaching on the Noble Mahayana Sutra on dependent arising at 6 o'clock Indian time. And those who will join online, it will be entertained from WebEx, and the link will be shared in the chat box. So those who are living in Delhi and wants to join offline, please come to Tibet House, and we also have a talk offering. Thank you. And for tomorrow's teaching of the Śhālistamba Sūtra, Saturday, you will have a 4th session, which is at 1:30 Indian Standard Time. Thank you.